cautious and calculating. And you can even see all this, the visit the president has been making abroad. There is some clout that has come with this guy being in that position, which was not there with the previous occupant. What was he? That would be the former governor of Machakos. The name.
Alfred Mutua.
Yeah, Dr. Alfred Mutua. So it is very important for him to remain there. I have noticed the AG is gone, basically wasn't doing anything. So for Musalia, there's something substantive he's been doing. And currently, as we speak, he's actively engaged in this campaign of trying to whip the African continent to back Kenya's candidature of the AU chairperson. So sacking him would come with consequences unintended.
Okay.
So that's my reason of why he has been
Can I
retained.
comment on that issue?
Yes, Mark, I wanted to bring you in if you share the same sentiments with him.
No, mine is slightly different. It's not opposed, but it's slightly different. Can I
Carry
go ahead?
on.
People need to understand that the structure upon which he can continue constitution and the push that we have, especially after we separated cabinet from parliament. The role of a prime CS has been quite important, and I am one of those people who has been a proponent of it since BBI, and I'm still going to stand by it because this country actually needs to have diverse leadership, but also direct access to parliament from the cabinet. Now, Uganda and Tanzania do the same thing, as does France, which has just had its elections. Honestly, this country needs a prime cabinet secretary or a prime minister, whatever we'll call it. The NADCO report came up with the same conclusion. BBI came up with the same conclusion. And if you look at the needs of this country, and especially the connection to have the executive answerable to parliament, we do need a prime minister.
Thank you. I see, and by the way, requested the mic. I don't know if you're in a position to speak. And by the way,
Yeah, thank you very much. Can
yes,
you
please
hear me?
keep it brief. Yes, I can hear you. Are you asking a question or making a comment? Kindly keep it brief.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I do believe, like Mark, that having a prime minister or that prime cabinet secretary is important generally because we will have sometimes the connection between us and the government, mostly likely to be headed by the same prime cabinet secretary. So I believe we need that person generally to connect us, even the people and the government.
You kind of dropped.
So people and the government. So I think Matiang'i worked well and put us on toes generally through the government and the people. And I believe that only that it is unconstitutional, but I think the president should work on it and make it constitution, make it a law. And I think we'll be having a good move on his side.
Thank you. Now, Mark, I wanted to ask, do you foresee a situation where the same cabinet secretaries who are sacked, and I think also the same question Kakai will be able to answer, do you foresee a time where these same people who have been sacked making an entrance again back to different positions in government?
That's a difficult question because cabinet serves at the discretion of the president. However, and unfortunately, the cabinet, as the president said, and the president said that he has evaluated what the cabinet has done, and after giving his scorecard, he decided to fire everyone. Now, to bring anyone back, that person needs to have done a spectacular job. Now, unfortunately, that spectacular job must not only be manifest to the president, it must be manifest to the people. Honestly, looking at what the president has done, I think he would lose credibility if he brought any of them back. Not because all of them have underperformed or all of them have not done what they need to happen, but the president is setting a new chapter and is signing a new social contract with the people. The people today have highly praised him for firing everyone. If he brings anyone back, whether they were good to him and the people didn't see it, or else he will lose the traction that he needs. And that traction is this, that for once, after many press conferences, this is the first press conference where the people are agreeing with the president that he's exercising his power according to the will of the people, and they can see that he wants to set a new trajectory. Now, unfortunately, the people who need to fall on the sword are the people he has fired, good or bad, because what he needs to deliver to the Kenyan as per his constitutional mandate, and honestly, as per him actually listening to the people, the president needs a fresh start. If he brings some hangers on from the past, he will have to do a lot of heavy lifting to convince the people that he's actually serious about change. Now, this is unfair because there are over 20 individuals being sacked. But guess what? When you are in cabinet, you have to serve the higher call of the people. And the people have said, Anguka nayo. Now, these CSs wameanguka. What this country needs is a fresh start. And the president seems to be very willing to give Kenyans that fresh start. He should continue on that pace.
Thank you. I see Ibrahim wants to speak. I don't know if he wants to make a comment or ask a question, but please keep it brief. Ibrahim.
Yeah, thank you, and good evening, everyone. By the way, there is a fellow here should be given the mic, Mohammed Wali. I think he can hear me. He's someone that, first and foremost, I want to say that what the president has done is something amazing. The next problem that we have, we should go back to the counties now. And people should Ruto's not incompetent, who are incompetent, and I really appreciate what the president has done today. It is something that I never thought that he will do, but basically sacking everyone was the best. Thank you.
Mohammed, I hope you'll be in a position to honor Ibrahim's request. And it would also be nice to just have you on the panel as well to hear your insights, because we consider you one of the experts and also people who bring value to such wholesome conversations. So I hope Kasim is in a position to just request Mohammed. Now, as we wait for Mohammed to join, Kai, the same question Mark Bichachi was responding to.
The question was, do you think there'll be recycling of...
Yes, because
I'm sorry to use that term.
Carry on.
So I think Kenya is full of talents, and most Kenyans are very educated, well experienced for that matter, and everyone deserves to get an opportunity to serve our beloved country. But just to be fair enough, there are few leaders who did their best. But then that will be now up to the dialogue that the president said that we'll have multi-sectorial dialogue with youth, political parties, and technocrats, so that they come up with a perfect inclusion team who are intelligent, who are committed to serve Kenya, and who are well experienced on different ministries. Yeah, you could hear when even most media houses went around after the breaking news and asked Kenyans, and they were very straight, and they're saying, we want, if you put someone for sports, let them be experienced about sports. If you put someone for attorney general, let them be someone who is available for people, both locally and internationally. A lot of Kenyans are suffering abroad because, attorney general is not well, was not performing his job so well for them, stuff like that. So I believe that if one or two are returned who are doing the right job, there won't be an issue. But I also have a strong belief that people and they will serve
I don't think I want to subject myself to being to have my watch and shirt and belts valued by people like my friend Fadili, who basically invited me to this space, and who is an expert valuer of shoes and everything that is expensive. On a serious note now, I think this was coming. I don't think it's something that surprised us. At some stage, I think any normal president would have changed at least half of these guys. If you go to my Twitter feed, I think about a year ago, after giving them one full year, I tweeted that the entire cabinet is incompetent, and basically I even said that President Moi had, a better quality in terms of cabinet. For those of us who are old enough to remember, we remember people like Professor Njuguna, Professor Karanja, Njuguna Karanja, that is. Josephat Njuguna Karanja, that was the right name. We had people like Professor Saitoti. We had guys like, just name them. I think we had quality. Moi, we called him a dictator, but he had a very, very serious, competent guys sometimes. Of course, they had to sing songs and do everything else, but those are very, very bright people. I think what the president did when he came into office is he converted his campaign team into his government. And that's a very, very dangerous thing to do. The people who are normally very good in campaigning and getting you into office are not necessarily the same people who can run your government. There is a guy, I don't know if you guys follow American politics, there's a guy called David Axelrod. And someone asked him once why he's an expert strategist when it comes to campaigns, but he never wants to serve in government. And he said the two are different. Winning an election is easy. So I think it is a confidence, issue, and I think there was almost a lack of confidence in that cabinet. So the president had to do that in order to regain the confidence of the people. Remember, the problem William Ruto suffers from is that he campaigned unlike any other president. We've had many elections since 1992, multi-party elections. And what used to happen is that our elections were more of, tribal. And presidents will come in, their tribes will elect them, life goes on, and people don't care what happened. But to a certain extent, this administration boasts basically about having campaigned on issues. So they came on issues, and people are now holding them to those issues. So they're being held to account because somehow, I think for the first time in our elections and the campaigns, 2022 was slightly different. So I think it is. I particularly did not support this government. Everybody probably on this space knows who I supported and whom I campaigned for, and that's no secret. But it was never going to be easy. It doesn't matter who came into office. And now what we have is we have a government. Whoever comes into government, even the next cabinet, is going to have it very, very rough. That's one thing Kenyans need to understand. We are in a very, very difficult position. The rejection of the finance bill, it wasn't good for people as people rejected it because that's ultimately what is important. But what is going to happen is that's going to create a very, very, very bad financial position. We've been downgraded already. I don't think we can go back to the Eurobond market. So international debt is going to be difficult to source it. Domestic debt is also going to be an issue. So the president had to reboot. That's the only thing I could say. And then maybe come up with guys who would have a different idea and different way of doing things. But having the same guys in was never going to be a viable thing for him. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Lydia, do you have a question or a comment?
Oh, hi. Thanks. Perhaps for me, I think the next point to stay on topic. 2013, you know, all the money we have borrowed, where has it gone? How has it been used? And the fact that government offices seem to have so many accounts and not really following what is in. There's a whole chapter in our constitution about and debt, financing the government and debt management, and the fact that we should be having one account. I don't think that is being followed. I feel like we have too many split interests and a lot of wheeler dealing going on. So I feel like that needs to be one of the main priorities, because I feel like that is going to either reduce our debts or we hold some people accountable, and maybe not even pay some of these debts which are on the books that may have gone to personal accounts. After that, I feel like we also need to check on the revenue. Like, I don't understand how we can have like, we have budget estimates but we don't have revenue estimates. Like, where does our money come from? Then we have so many government agencies. Do we know how much these agencies collect on an annual basis? And and where that money goes? Do we do we pay salaries? Like, the salaries are budgeted. All the civil servant salaries coming from KRA revenues or from this agency organization? Like,
Audit is overrated. You know, no one else can have an account there. You can't have a personal account. Uhuru can't have an account. Whoever. The minister cannot have an account. The money goes in there. Then what happens is the money is moved into so the money moves then to GOK because it's stolen. It's through projects. So basically, once it hits the exchequer, it's given to different ministries and MDAs. Then from there, it's when all the shenanigans and all the dirty work happens. This issue of saying the government then says, okay, I received $3 billion in Kenya shilling equivalent, 300 billion shillings. I'm going to give 20 billion to the NYS, devolution. It goes to NYS, it's carried in sacks. The other one goes to Ministry of Health, stolen through KEMSA. So if you want to know and audit this, you need to audit the government accounts. And this is done every year. And if you read the Auditor General reports, it's a crime scene. So why are people looking for things in somewhere they will never find? There is nothing wrong with the register leader. All you need to do, if you are very honest and you want to fix this issue of corruption, go back to all the auditor reports. And by the way, the auditor generals, all of them, from the day very, very useful. So every year, we see in headlines 50 billion stolen, 20 billion.
Beyond your payment per month. Kenya does not have a debt problem. Kenya has two problems. It has a problem of corruption, and it has a problem of leaders who don't put Kenya first. In the president firing the entirety of his cabinet, he has given himself a fresh start, legally conscience. Now, Mohamed Welia has, as usual, made a very brilliant presentation on the books and how they should be done. My contribution is this. The president is right in firing all of his cabinet. Other than competence, he needs to choose what is morally right, who are people who are morally right, and also needs to choose people who can make the right decision that benefits all the people. Debt is over exaggerated. The real problem with Kenya is corruption. And corruption is reported every day by the media, reported by the Auditor General. It has no consequence. Corruption is more expensive than all the debt this country has had since independence. The president needs to show, and he has the power to do so, and so far by firing everyone has shown the will to do so. So we need to support him in ensuring that corruption does not continue. That we can handle. Why can we handle that? Because this economy, even in post-election violence 2007, we grew. As long as we grow, we can pay debt. The issue is not debt. The issue is theft and corruption.
Thank you, Mark. I'd want to rope in Edwin, and just to public opinion has started to shift on how they view the president.
I wouldn't necessarily say that public opinion has shifted, but basically, I've tried to understand the president and how he's responded to the Gen Z protests. One, I would say I'm not his supporter from time immemorial, but from what I've observed, it's like he means well. It's maybe the technicalities of statecraft that are not quite easy for anybody to grasp, even if he's been deputy president for over 10 years. Being president is a whole new cup of tea. So now this Gen Zs, the problem is this. There's a huge mass of them countrywide, and they are basically leaderless. And that is a very big problem. You see, a certain pocket, maybe from coast, will be saying, we want this, another one, they want this. So you are not harnessing it. So what the president is doing is basically, I would say, a panic reaction, because we've never been here before. So it's not like there's a script he could follow saying, if there's such an uprising, this is what you do. It's never happened. So where he is just trying to manage. And I know earlier there's a speaker who said, he's stable constitutionally, what have you. My view has always been that while the constitution might say there is a 5-year term for the next elections, if somebody has lost the confidence of the populace, you can go even after 1 year. You cannot force yourself to govern people who have said they don't want you there. So you will go. So the issue of saying that because the constitution says ABCD, even the constitution itself, it was made for the Kenyan people. It is not the Kenyan people who are made for the constitution. And that's why maybe it explains how the president is responding to them. But I would say this Gen Z generation, it would be in their best interest to have to get leaders. I don't know how they will go about it, but it is important, and the examples are abound on the importance of that. Like the Niagara Falls that powers New York. Somebody said it was always there even before New York became what it is, and it never produced power until it was harnessed. So this energy that these Gen Z people have, it needs to be harnessed. They need to give us leaders. So you can't be addressing the whole world. This one says this one says this. And maybe if they had leaders now with the reconstitution of the cabinet, there would be somebody to look and expect maybe this Gen Z representative will be in this ministry. So now, do you appoint all these Gen Z people to the cabinet? That's why I was saying we need to be cautious with these developments. We might still end up with the same people who have gone. It's like a session of cool down, a moment where the president wants the country to cool. Once the temperatures are down, these guys come back, business as usual, life goes on. So we need to be very careful with what's happening. That's my take.
Thank you. Ben, do you have a question or a comment? Okay, before Ben. Okay.
Thank you very much. Mine was just maybe a quick reaction, maybe towards Edwin. Leader, this leaderless faction is really creating a big impact. The moment they have leaders, it's going to be hell on earth. They are going to fight those leaders. They are going to use every available means to intimidate them. So for me, that won't be the best way to go. Again, in Kenya, we also need a patriot's law, something that will hold these state officers accountable in case of any corruption case, because we've been seeing sprees of looting in government, and somebody resigns or maybe is fired, and that's the end of it. But this person has gone with billions of Kenyans taxpayer money actually, and we say hiyo ni sawa, amefutwa, hiyo ni sawa. No, it should not end there. We need justice to actually prevail for the country. Again, if you look at our political, I mean, our governance system, it is based on rewarding your political friends, not more of professionalism. And that is a cancer that is eating our nation up. The wrong man with the wrong qualifications, like for example, you get somebody with a degree in theology, given a certain important docket, maybe dealing with matters of law or engineering. The person does not have any idea of how to run actually that place, and you find that's also another big problem. Again, we have also the issues of the IG, the Inspector General of Police, and his entire command. We have a problem because these people are trained with taxpayers' money, and we don't know actually how they are trained there. And for particular year, and they were actually giving these documents written in very, very small fonts in such a way that you cannot read. Then they Valley region, the northeastern region. If we think in that direction, it will be very easy to empower these particular regions, and if possible, have them constituted as counties, because Kenya has too many counties. Some and some are actually irrelevant. People are just there to earn money, and to waste public funds. Finally, I'll also submit that the president should also look into the matter of nominated senators, nominated MCAs, the issues of women rep. I know there is a rule, a rule in parliament about the 2/3 gender rule, but will it actually bring any impact? Because we've seen nominated senators like Gloria are very, yani she actually betrayed Kenyans outrightly, and she doesn't care. They are talking in a manner which is very rude and very heartbreaking for the voter who actually pays taxes for them. So all these offices, they need to be looked up to. And also, without forgetting the office of the prime cabinet secretary. Like, what is the role of this guy? How has he actually contributed to the growth of Kenya? We actually don't need that office. We need serious people. We need professionals in office, and not just people who are being awarded because of maybe having political affiliations. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Abdi, please keep it short.
Thanks. I'll keep it short. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, please.
Perfect. Thank you. I was going to say one thing. I think, I'm going to be a little bit optimistic. I think the president means well. He's listening. I think we are in the right direction. The worst cabinet ever. But my only two things is, one, the way forward. I think we have to be very careful the folks that he appoints. I think that is going to be, I think one major problem we have in Kenya is also spending problem. We're paying a lot of salaries, a lot of allowances, a lot of wastage. I think if we take care of that, that will be a huge, huge saving. One personal note, I am in the diaspora, and 4 weeks ago, we had a meeting with one of the European countries that we're trying to move, and we were invited by a certain government to present our business case and move the business there. And they were giving us favorable tax ratings. And my question to them after the meeting was, why are you doing this? And the answer from those tax authorities was, we're looking at the job opportunities that you're creating. I have a question for Mohammed. I think Mohammed Weli is in the speaker form. I always hear the president mentioning about taking people to Saudi. Those are menial jobs. I think what improves an economy is manufacturing. If you have a booming manufacturing, then your economy is going to grow. A question to Mohammed: where did we go wrong in Kenya in terms of trying to attract companies that actually manufacture, that increase our tax base, but also increase our earning revenue in terms of dollars? Just to add, lastly, I think we need to be optimistic, but I'm looking forward to the next step in terms of who are the folks that are going to be appointed for that position. That will tell us where we're headed as a country. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Abdi. And Mohammed, before you answer his question, let me also ask the question that I want us to look at, so that when you speak, you can also get back to Abdi. And this question maybe should be to Elie and Mark before I bring in Kaikai. Edwin has mentioned something about Gen Zs having a representative. And then I also had Ben talk about that we should ensure that even the people who the president brings on board are people who are credible and authentic. So do we foresee a possibility where the president will get someone who's a Gen Z in ministry? Because now we've seen people say we also want the young people. We do not want the same leaders who have been there since time immemorial taking up these positions. And then, if not Gen Zs, how do we go about appointing these people? Because I know there's a way that this has to be done constitutionally, but we also have people's voices now overshadowing that. So how does the president move?
Thank you very much. Let me first answer the two questions asked by Abdi. Let's start with the question of labor and export of human capital. a lot of people are making a lot of noise about this, and yet it is a natural thing to do. We look, Labour. Human capital is just, we have it in large numbers. So, if you look at countries like India, if you look at countries like Philippines, these countries many years ago discovered that they are not able to absorb all the labor that they produce. So in Philippines, for example, as soon as you reach 18, the way we give IDs to people, they actually give passports. They tell you, if you find opportunities outside, go. They have a huge ministry, they have a process, they have a mechanism to do it. I've worked here in Saudi Arabia for a long time now. We are almost over 100,000 Kenyans in the city of Riyadh and the surrounding areas. If you look at the vet, for example, almost all the vets, the veterinary officers, are from Upper Kabete, Kenya. And it's a whole industry. If you look at the agriculture industry, mostly is done by Kenyans. So now many, of course, the headline is always taken by domestic workers. You have an issue with 1 or 2 or 3 people. Of course, the employers will mistreat people, and it also happens back at home. Now, these girls, I think there are about 60 or 70,000 of them in the kingdom. People have used very bad words like slavery, blah, 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 blah. I think it's just the bad things that always go to the media. But a lot of them earn around, 50 or 40,000 Kenya shillings. They're given somewhere to sleep. They save all that money. They are basically helping family back at home. If you cannot give these people jobs, you can't then ask them not to go outside. And labor, export of labor is a natural thing. I mean, India have what is called the NRIs, the non-resident Indians. Everywhere in the world you go to, you will find professional Indians. If you go to the Gulf, you'll see manual labor, hotels, everywhere. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's just one product, one service that Kenya provides to where there's shortage of this labor. So there's nothing wrong with it. There should be no negative connotations to this. Now, you talked about manufacturing. Manufacturing is expensive in Kenya because of a number of reasons, and one of them is power. If you go to Ethiopia, for example, I think it's about 25 cents for a kilowatt. If you want to produce something, you need to have cheap power. You need to have cheap labor. You need to have good tax policies. You need to have so many things to come together. The government has tried in the past, the previous government, including the Uhuru administration, to try and come up with very good policies and that are attractive to investors to come and do manufacturing in Kenya, because he had the big four, they did everything. But one thing they could not crack at all is power. Power is very expensive because it was given to independent producers. They have signed very long contracts. They have spent a lot of money to do those power. They spent a lot of money to do that setup of the power they provide. Then they decided to recoup everything in a very short period. So irrespective of how much power you produce. We're one of the few countries that produces a lot of power. We have more power than we need sometimes, but it's still expensive because there are independent power providers that we have to pay, and we have to pay them over a short period. And so there's nothing literally any government can do because they have signed contracts. And those contracts were done in bad faith. There are people who took money. Again, we go back to the issue of corruption. So just, Abdi, to cut short, you have to factor in corruption as a cost to your business. And a lot of businesses are doing now. So when they're actually budgeting, they actually have to see corruption as a cost. And that's very unfortunate. So if you look at all our problems, the attendance problems that we have, ultimately, you will go and zero into corruption. Coming to the question of sorry, I forgot. Can you ask me the last question?
So Adrian had.
Thank you very much. Yes, Gen Zs. Now, we don't care how old a person is. We want competent people. Okay, I don't think it's fair to put someone in cabinet or in government simply because they are 21 or 20 years old. I think it doesn't go like that. And by the way, there are a lot of youth guys who have been given opportunities because they're youth, and they've let us down. I mean, if you look at Parliament, a lot of the guys who are voting for the wrong things, who are basically saying the wrong things, are very young. Some of the senators, very young. The cabinet has got, guys who are 30 to 40 years old, and they're no better when it comes to corruption. So it's not about how old a person is. So there is no any correlation. Anybody who has done research and said there's a correlation between bad governance or corruption and age. So if Gen Z, he's a very good guy. I mean, there are guys who are 30 years old who are PSs in Uhuru's government, and they had issues. There are guys who are in our cabinet. There were guys who are in Senate. The guys who are in Parliament. All of them. They're saying the wrong things. They're doing the wrong things. So I don't think it's about age. But if the president wants to hire young and competent people, so those you can't take away the competence part. If they're competent, if they are ready to serve, if they're going to bring change, I think why not? So it's and who is, by the way, again, the question is who I have a very big problem with this issue of saying we are leaderless. A lot and do it there. So you have to identify people, MPs, governors, you have to come up with a political party. You have to go and tell and sell your ideas to the people like any other party as Gen Zs, and then get elected and change whatever you want to change. You can't say we are faceless, we are armor-fast, we are leaderless. We are going to sit back. A president comes in, he does all the wrong things, we go to the streets. There's another policy that comes, we do the same thing again. It's not a viable thing, it's not sustainable. So the best way Gen Zs can change this country is you come up with a political outfit, go to the ballot, all of you vote. Either you don't have to win the presidency, you don't have to win government. You can have enough people to influence policy, have enough people in parliament, have enough people in Senate, have enough people. If you win, and I mean, there is a revolution at the ballot, it's even better. But this thing of saying we are faceless, we are leaderless, we don't want to talk, we don't want dialogue, So what? Then what's going to happen? That's a recipe for anarchy. Because basically what you're saying is we just this amorphous organization or group of people in social media, and we will just wait for
Can I kindly
government to
chip
do
in?
the wrong things and will come in at that particular time. So I don't think that is something that is sustainable in my view. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark. Still on the same question, and also how do we move forward? Because I know these are way the Constitution allows for cabinet secretaries to be appointed. But now we have this catch-22 where people also want a specific thing, but then there's no one who is actually going to be, the leader and say, okay, now this is how we're going to move forward. You're going to dialogue with the president. So how does the president move forward in this?
Uh, First, I know Gen Z say they're leaderless, and I agree that they are leaderless, but they're not rudderless. And I'm splitting hairs, but let me explain what I mean. What the Gen Z has managed to do is be democratic, but not through the ballot, but through social media. They have managed to get information out, make decisions as a collective, and then move that forward. This is exactly the same thing that happens by the ballot for the people in Switzerland, because the Swiss have referenda, 7, 8 of them every year, where every citizen is not listening to parliament, is not listening to the revolving presidency. They're making decisions together. What Gen Z has done, and I know they say they are leaderless. I agree. They say they're tribeless. I agree. But what they have demonstrated to this country is the power of the democratization of technology. They have reduced decision-making power to a mobile phone and the ability to access a space, whether it's a X space, whether it is a conversation on Facebook. They have begun to democratize the political decisions this country needs to make. So they're not leaderless. They are leading themselves through a technological democratic space. And we must thank them, because what they've done is they've removed, both from politics and even the presidency, the encumberment of tribe, the encumberment of political debts, and the encumberment of any leader having to pay political debts by giving people position. And they've come back and said that they want competence. So they don't care whether it is a Somalia, Turkana, a Bajoni, whichever small tribe you want to call. They don't care about it. What they want is competence, accountability, and no corruption. Paul said, against virtue, there is no law. By that, he meant that if you're truthful, you're honest, you're loving, you're caring, and you actually lead your people with a conscience, there is no constitution that can rule over virtue. What Gen Z is asking for. And that's why I don't think they need a political party, because it's no longer Gen Z. I have seen every Kenyan I've met cry for and hunger for change. In what the president has done by firing everybody, he has given himself a chance socially to start again. What is the start? No corruption, no braggadocio experiences, and no opaque leadership. People want transparency. That transparency, regardless of tribe, shall be upheld by nearly every Kenyan, other than those who profit from corruption, from opaqueness, and from lies. The president today has started and agreed with the revolution of 25th June 2024. And I'm so proud that the president has listened to them, that they told the CS of sports who's going, how much are you spending, and is it accountable in the sense that it is a net gain for the country. That is what many analysts like myself have fought for many years. What is the next stage? The next stage is not a political party. If we focus on politics, we will lose it. The next stage young people have spoken a greater sermon than many bishops, taught us politics better than many medical practitioners. The message is, you better do good for the country than lift your hands to God or put your hands into the public coffers. That's it. If Kenyans stop stealing, our leaders stop stealing, and servants, not the people who push us off the roads. And by the way, the fact that no one people who earn more per month than MPs will not quit their jobs to go become MPs because being a politician is a financial decision. President Ruto has a unique chance, a chance that Mwai Kibaki had. And he said it in his speech. The biggest enemy of Kenya is corruption and leaders who don't care for their people. It is not just a matter that's as far as leaders is concerned. Now let me speak to the voters. It is time that we chose MPs, MCAs, cattle dip chairmen, chama chairmen, or women who actually want to serve. That is a privilege they enjoyed because of the Gen Z revolution. And that privilege is what the president of Kenya has recognized. Now we need to make sure that it is not about Mandamano, because Mandamano has changed. It's not about robbery anymore. We are peaceful, but it is about making sure that there is positive tension between the executive, judiciary, parliament, and the people to hold each other accountable. That's positive tension. That we want you to do better. We want you to want better. We want you to have a heart that is better. Finally, we need to make a statement to this country that if you want to be a billionaire, imagine you're a capital country, go into business. But if you want to serve, go into politics and go into the NGO space to serve people. None of these things are supposed to make anyone wealthy. If you want to be wealthy, which is why every public and state official needs to have his number public so that you remain accountable to the people who you're not the boss of, to who you're the servant of. The president today has started a journey. We need to work with him. We need to work with Gen Z to deliver what our collective dreams are.
Thank you.
Sorry, I have a question. I have to go soon, so I want to ask a question to Mark. I think it was Mark who was speaking, because I can see Edwin also has his mic on, and also Lydia. So it's very hard to tell who is speaking when everybody's mic is
It's
doing that.
Mark
Mark
who was
was
speaking,
speaking.
bro.
Mark was
It's
speaking.
Mark. Okay, I have a question for you, Mark. I know you talked about not having leaders and being leaderless and digital oversight. You've basically given very, very good points. I don't disagree with that. There's something called accountability. My question to you is, what Gen Zs are fighting is dictatorship, people making decisions and the utadu attitude. This is what has gotten us to where we are today. People lording it over others and saying, okay, you must do this. If you don't, I don't know. I can coming from this leaderless, faceless technology survey young people. So tomorrow they will decide, we don't want this. Another finance bill will come. Because this country has to have a finance bill. It is not Gen Zs kutuma salamu to everybody and anything that they don't like. So how is this country going to be governed if you don't have people who take responsibilities? Political parties. I'm a member of ODM. I am proud to say that. And I have been for ever since I took a card. If something goes wrong or they say something which I don't like, or basically they take a position or they do something wrong, people know that it is that political party that is causing us problems. It is Jubilee that does this. It is the head of Jubilee that. Now, how are we going to stop people then coming to space like this and saying, tomorrow we go to the streets, guys, because we don't like Mark, for example. Wacha tumtumia salamu. So just tell me how this is going to work.
Bro, first and foremost, I really respect your freedom of thought. It's an amazing thing to watch. I've been a fan of yours since I was at Export Promotion. You got no idea. But let me put it in perspective, right? I was once asked, what is the biggest risk that government faces. And I said that this government has swallowed so much that they will have a stomachache. Now, you see, when you're eating, you can see your vegetables, your meats, your carbohydrates. But if you eat too much, you don't know which one will cause your stomach upset. Now, this
just to reiterate what Mohammed was asking, should Gen Zs have a leader? Because I feel like you've gone around that question.
Now, I've said Gen Zs don't have a leader because they've democratized their decisions. So let me explain what that means. What they've done is on social media and wherever space they have, whether by likes, by dislikes, they make corporate decisions. If you want to understand what I'm saying, check out what's using social media. So they don't need a leader. They vote for ideas. Whoever has a good idea wants to hold a concert on Sunday.
A group of people going to the streets tomorrow, let's say Ruto appointed someone new who they feel like isn't worth the position.
Let them go to the street. It's constitutional. Whether it's 2 people, it's 20 people. What needs to happen in this country is everyone needs a voice, and we need a way of weighting what each voice is. As long as they're peaceful, they're not robbing people. Even one person who thinks that the constitution of Kenya needs to be dedicated to one God has the right to picket. That picketing needs to be noted, appreciated, and accepted.
Okay, thank you. Maria,
Yes.
welcome to the forum.
Thank you, Lindy.
Okay, carry on. Did you have a comment or a question?
Yes, I have a comment. I first of all want to agree 100% with Mark, and I can sort of see where Mohammed is coming from, but it's really nothing new or something to be afraid of. What these kids or Gen Z have done is basically taken the constitution and tested it, and it has worked. And they had a very good platform, which is technology. And that has made everything possible. Before in Kenya, for you to mobilize a crowd to show up, you needed money. You needed to have money, you needed to people, and you have to use money. Then you'll have to find that money one way or the other, which then, creates a ripple effect across our politics. But back to the question of what next after cabinet sacking, and this is of course in the background of the Gen Z protests. One, we need to address the fact that even as we're saying that there's been success with the protests, the Gen Zs themselves have been profiled in as much as they're leaderless. There are those who have been identified and profiled, and as we speak, are either in cells or are going to face prosecution over very trumped up charges because of trying to suppress the Gen Z movement. And the fact of the matter is the credit goes to them, but they're also suffering. They've been killed. They've been disappeared.
I'm not hearing anything. Is everyone the same, or am I the only one?
No, we can hear.
We can hear.
Maria, you can proceed. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So these young people have also suffered the brunt.
Sorry, I'm not hearing what's going on.
Mohammed, Maria is speaking.
Mohammed, I'm on. I don't know if you can hear me.
Unfortunately, I can hear you, but I can't hear the speaker. So maybe it's my problem.
Okay, maybe try and log back in. So I hope I've not lost my train of thought. I was just saying that the
Okay, so thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Very good discussion, and I think it is useful. I wish you the best.
Thank you, and all the best as well. Marine.
Yeah. So I was saying that what we went through in terms of multi-party democracy, the 90s, the cabinet sacking. First of all, I see that the president has gotten a lot of positive feedback. I think he's bought himself goodwill with the public and time, primarily because people feel that they've been listened to. And if you look at the social media posts or the vox pop on television, everybody is reacting one way or the other, and it has given him breathing room to be able to deal with the next steps. One, if you look at the recent meeting that the president with Baba and the opposition, quote unquote, the opposition, what was in the offing looked like a government of national unity. And in the backdrop of that meeting, then the cabinet sacking has happened. If you look at the MPs in parliament, and I want us to focus on parliament, which I think is the weak link, because parliament is the oversight arm of government, or of the state, if you'd like. Now, what has happened to get us to where we are is that Parliament forced through the finance bill, despite getting feedback from the people that this thing was bad. And they pushed and backlash on Parliament has been so bad that they've gone scampering to the hills. Now, before Ruto gets another cabinet and whoever he proposes, the president proposes, he will have to take those names to Parliament. What is likely to happen is that many of those who have suffered the backlash from the public, and those are the MPs who voted yes, will not be so enthusiastic to come back and approve. And even if they do, it will not be the gang who approach the voter. But now the president has left them kwa mataa, and he's now with the voter. So this has really changed a lot of dynamics. But the fact of the matter is that the next piece is that he will have to get cabinet members approved. So that is why it's possible to look at the discussions with the opposition as an opportunity for him to get a cabinet that will be approved by the opposition, if you will. And that also means that we will have faces in cabinet that are not necessarily a UDA party adherents. In fact, it gives more credit even to this uprising that you don't need to belong to a political party going forward to be able to do the right thing or to be on the right side of executing government agenda. So the president has been handed a gift by this crisis that he was facing. I think he was quick on his feet. He sees the moment and has an opportunity now to rearrange. What matters next is the reconstitution of IEBC, and that is really, really important. And it's also very important that you can see, and you can already see in some parts of the country, that recall of MPs is happening methodically. Kabete has been able to push on with the recall. In other places, like where I come from, like Laikipia, you can see that young people are being intimidated and arrested by politicians through the police because people lack signatures to recall their MP. So it's a very critical time to be alive in this country. I'm really, really proud of the young people who have actually seized the moment. They've taken the baton from us, Gen Xers and Boomers, who were able to push for the enactment of the new constitution. and they're actually testing this living document. See that there are people who are trying to hijack the very careful, well thought out process. You could see that there are people who are ready to hijack that movement, but it wasn't going to be sustainable. And you have to give credit to where it's due, that this, what is considered leaderless is not rudderless, to borrow what Mark was saying. I absolutely agree with what they're doing, as long as they keep sticking to the script where their space is democratic. They're looking at the law. I even saw how they created chat GPTs to explain, so that they could learn what this bill was about, because let's face it, not many people read these bills. So technology has become the tool that has driven this revolution. I like to think of it as the gensification of Kenyan politics. And really, what's going to happen in the next month or two is going to be very interesting to watch, and the momentum should be allowed to continue.
Thank you so much, Maria, for your submission.
Amondi, you should allow me to sign off. I also need to rush somewhere. Maybe
Yes.
some parting thoughts. Now, I've had.
Edwin, let me ask you your final question, because I know you're legal, and I know Maria is also here, can also help. We've seen people tweet Ruto must go. Do you think that is something that is likely to happen, despite the number of times people would actually want to go to the streets for that?
My brief answer to that is that it will not happen. You see, there's something we call the fierce urgency of now. Yeah? So that at the height of this Gen Z protest, there was that momentum. That was the perfect time for Ruto to go. If he has weathered the storm, and like it or not, Ruto is no fool. If you burnt him for a fool, you would get wise ashes. He's not a fool. That one I agree, not being his supporter. So he's weathered the storm. And what is now doing right now, like I said earlier, it is trying to bring the temperature down. And then these Gen Z fellows also broke a cardinal rule, maybe in warfare. We say, when a man is down, don't hit him. So there's a moment they had him down. So instead of watching the next steps, now, demand this. So this whole thing is now in danger of becoming irrelevant. And that's why it brings back to my favorite point that I've been making this whole evening. There is need for these people to come up with a leadership structure. If they don't do so, they run the danger of losing this constitutional moment. It will go and it will never be recovered. You see what happened? There was no precedent for the protests that happened to the Gen Z young people. Next time it comes, there's a precedent. People have seen what can happen. People can storm parliament, do what the Burkina Faso guys did. In Burkina Faso, actually, they managed to burn the whole thing down. Here in Nairobi, it was just by luck they burnt a small section. So the answer to your brief question is Ruto is not going anywhere anytime soon. But in terms of parting words, before I go, I wanted to disabuse all those who keep saying whatever happened is a revolution. A revolution, by definition, means an abrupt change in governance or the overthrow of the constitutional order. What happened with Gen Z, in my terms, is called an awakening. These guys had power that they did not know they had. Now they know they have. what has happened is that the constitution is still there. And I heard the president speaking when he was dismissing the whole cabinet. He said, government business will continue as normal. Ministries will be run by permanent secretaries. So in other words, nothing has changed. The constitution is the same.